One of the more interesting cats you can get to talk to. 11 seasons in the NFL. Of course, Mike Ditka, as we sit here in the CHGO Bears Podcast, traded his entire draft plus a first rounder to get this gentleman coming out of Hookham, and now doing great work off the field, giving back, working with Heisman, and we've got a farm that I'm going to mention as well. Ricky Williams, Saint, Dolphin, Argonaut, Dolphin, Raven, Heisman Trophy winner. Let's not forget that. College Football Player of the Year. Ricky, good to see you, my friend. The world is always spinning in an interesting way when I get to talk to you, so thanks for making time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So can we just start there with the coach, because he will forever be a thing in Chicago. Like, he loved you. It didn't work out exactly as planned, but like when you hear the name Mike Ditka today, I think I saw a smile creep over your face. Like, what are your memories of Coach?
I felt it's unfortunate that I only got to play for him for 1 year, but that was a great year. I mean, not personally because I was injured the whole year, but I think that's part of life and that's part of football, is going through difficult times. And I think that's when we need leadership the most. And so I learned so much about myself and about life that year. And a lot of it had to do with Coach Ditka's patience with me.
Was there a lot of, conversations, I don't know, on the side, like, hey, Ricky, this is not necessarily working out. And by the way, I'm probably getting fired at the end of this year too. And I don't know what the future holds, but I want XYZ for you.
We kind of had that conversation. It was the end of that 1 year. And I battled injuries the whole year, and I'd missed the previous 4 games because of a turf toe injury. And there was a kind of a question mark. We had 2 games left, and there was a question mark of if I was going to finish. And I think I needed like 200 yards in the last 2 games to get over 1,000 yards. And the subtext was, if you get over 1,000 yards, I think maybe you can save both of us, or at least, you can say that even through all the crap you've been through, it was still a successful season. We ended up actually beating the Cowboys that next game, which were a playoff bound team. And we ended up getting our butts kicked pretty bad the last game against Carolina. So I didn't get to the 1,000-yard mark, and he was fired, subsequently. But we'll always have 99.
Right. Well, right. And
we'll always have the wedding dress. Okay.
You'll have the wedding dress. You'll have the connection.
The draft.
The draft. It's historic in its own way. And look, you went on to have a great career. That's at least how I would call it. I mean, if you were to put an adjective to your career, what would you say?
I'd say, I don't know if I would say great. I would say interesting. And to me, I'd rather have an interesting, good career than a boring, great career. And that's just me. And it's interesting about, that we're talking about this conversation I had with Coach Ditka, and I think it was foreshadowing to the conversation I had with myself about ending my NFL career. And what I told myself is, if I can get to 10,000 yards, I can confidently, say that my career was a success, because, 10,000 yards, where, when I played a year in Canada, and I was suspended for a year and a half, and I retired for a year, and just to go through everything I went through and still to say I got to 10,000 yards, like, I feel very good about my NFL career.
I mean, you don't need me to blow up your career here, but look, you led the NFL in rushing. You were a Heisman Trophy winner. You had, as you're just naming, you were retired, you came back, you performed at a high level. To me, it all like that. It's interesting. Fine is good, but I don't know. I think you should be proud of what you did. And I was watching some podcast or listening to some podcast the other day, Ricky, and it was about don't tell me about guys with talent. Talent is actually somebody who has the work ethic to take what they have and get the the most out of it. Talent's like basically irrelevant. And I think a lot of people would say like Ricky Williams was incredibly talented, but you also had to work incredibly hard to do what you did. You didn't just fall out of bed and do it. But does that make sense to you? Like the whole that, because there's a lot of talented guys, very talented, who don't make it to the NFL, who could have, in theory, at least if they had gone all in on what they could possibly do.
There are different talents, and I think work ethic is a specific talent, right? So you can say the guys that can run fast, the guys that can catch, the guys that can throw, and add that the guys that work hard. And I think in order to be successful over the long term, that's one of the ingredients, one of the talents you have to have is the work ethic.
Where do you rank yourself in that corner of talent?
I give myself like if it was 1 to 10, I give myself a solid 9. My attitude was no one is ever gonna outwork me. And I say 9, not a 10, because I'm kind of moody, so I had to be in the mood.
Well, that could lead into what you're doing today with Heisman, and also you're partnering. In addition to Heisman, you've got a partnership going on with Chris Ball Family Farms. So why don't I give you an opportunity right now, Ricky, just to talk about what you got going on in the business / personal life.
Yeah. So first, a little cannabis business 101. Okay. So right now, cannabis is recreationally legal for adult use in I think 20 states, okay, 15 states, and medicinally, and I think 28, I think 30 have medicinal programs. Okay. So it's not federally legal. And so as we're a brand, we have to establish our brand in each individual state, in each individual market. Okay. And we are a brand. We call ourselves a cannabis lifestyle brand. The idea is cannabis is becoming more and more prevalent. More people are using it. But the history of cannabis, because of prohibition, has been something you do in secrecy. And so we don't really have an out front, in the open kind of model for a lifestyle. It's new. And so, we really aim to be pioneers in helping people conceptualize how do we integrate cannabis into our lives. And because I come from a background of performance sports, all I can speak to is how to utilize cannabis to be better, to get better. So that's the message of Heisman. And so as a brand, we're lifestyle people. We're not cultivators, okay? But I am personally a connoisseur. And so the way the business side works, most of the brands or the people putting cannabis into the market are the business of cultivation. And so ideally, we like to think that they're trying to put really good product out into the market, but they're a business. And so they're trying to do it where they have the greatest margins. And so where we come in is we say, wait. If we're going to attach what we're building to the flower we're putting out, we're going to make sure that the quality is where it needs to be. And so as we've launched flower in California, Oregon, Massachusetts, we're launching in Washington later this month, in Nevada and Arizona later this year, that we have to find cultivation partners. Okay. So Chris Ball, played a little bit in the NFL, spent some time in the CFL. We've known each other for a long time. We mutual friends that we go way back. I launched my brand and I bumped into him at an event and I was like, hey, what are you doing here? And he's like, Ball Family Farms. And I was like, no way. Like, I love what you're doing. And so we started to talk and I said, we'd love to do some kind of collaboration where we put our brand behind, your methods and your cultivars, your strains. And so we did what's called a pheno hunt. Okay. And so as a cultivator, he put his it's kind of like breeding anything. Okay. He took his best male and his best female plant and he put them together and they gave him a lot of kids. And he said, we're trying to figure out which one of these kids we're going to put in our packaging and put in the market. And I said, well, let me test them and see the one that I like best. Okay. And so he slid me over 7 little jars. Okay. And I spent the night, trying to see what I could find, and I spent a little bit more time with them, and I found one that really like spoke to me. You know, it was really it created the mood that I was looking for. And so, you know, and the way that Chris works is he likes to do these projects with his friends and with celebrities. And then for the actual like naming process and packaging, he asked us what our favorite movie was growing up. Right. And my favorite movie growing up was Boyz in the Hood. Right. One of the reasons is because the main character had my name, Ricky, and he was a high school running back. Okay. Part that I didn't love about the story is he got killed. But other than that, okay, it was a story that I really connected to as a kid. And Chris heard the story and he was like, Ricky, we're going to name this strain the Ricky Baker. And so, you know, we had a lot of fun with it. And I'm excited. We had a launch event this past weekend where we watched football all day Sunday at a consumption lounge. It was wonderful. And, you know, I was so proud because part of the gift bag we gave to everyone that came in was the flower. And so everyone was smoking on like what I chose. And so it really set the whole vibe. It was really cool.
What's the mood, the vibe that you're looking for? What's in this strain?
Yeah. So my experience is I went through the different strains and the process, you know, when you're trying to pick some flower is typically you smell it, right? Because there's one thing that I learned in my connoisseur classes, right? Is that the nose doesn't lie. If the nose likes it, the body's going to like it. Okay. And also, if you've done a good job growing the flower and you've done a good job preserving it, right, you're going to know because the aroma hits you. You know, we say it's loud. Okay. It's loud. And so the first thing is you smell it. Okay. And then the next thing is like the smell has to match the taste, right? Because, you know, if they've done a good job, the essence of it carries over and you can taste it. Right. And that adds to the effect. You know, there's something they've shown about the sense of smell. Is it bypasses the brain and it activates memories, deep memories. Okay. And I think this is the magic of how the cannabis plant works. And so the experience that I got what I like to do is smoke and read. Right. And I remember I was smoking, it was about 11:30 at night. And I noticed after smoking this one strain, I got energized and I got even deeper into the content that I was reading. And I was like, this is it. And so for me, the effect was this activation and this intensification of focus into whatever you're doing. And so at the event, you know, we had really good music playing in the background with the DJ, and we had football on. And I found myself really immersed both into the music and into really enjoying the game, where other people in the space were being more social. Some people were playing beer pong, you know? And so it's like in the moment, people were just really present and engaged in whatever they're doing. It's a different vibe than watching sports when you're consuming alcohol. You know?
That present thing is what I'm kind of keying into, because I think that's something at least a lot of us are striving for. Can I actually be in the moment, be with myself, be with the person that I'm hanging out with, and be able to listen to what they're saying and sort of calm down the chatter in my head to really be there? And that, for like rewinding back the conversation, talent, that is an extreme talent to be able to do that, and not easy at all. I'm wondering, like, you know, going back in your playing days, Ricky, did you think if it had been condoned, do you think you would have been even a better player? Like that you didn't have to hide anything. You could have maybe, I don't know, delved into the playbook in greater ways, or watched the film in different ways, that type of stuff. If it was in a different space, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense. I think 100%, but I don't think it's just the idea if it was allowed. I think there has to be an educational piece, you know? And so I think even the idea, and this is again another part of why I launched the brand, even this conversation of most people don't even consider, oh, I can smoke and watch film, right? Or I can smoke and look at the playbook. Like, it's not even a consideration because it's been something that's been so taboo. But I think once people start to hear this and they start to experiment, they're going to find some things I can't do in that state, but other things I'm really present. And, you know, one of the things that's interesting is a lot of people, when they first start consuming cannabis, they realize that, you know, movies are funnier. Okay. Food tastes better. Okay. And it's not so much that the movies are funnier or the food tastes better, is that you're just more present and you're picking up on the nuances that there was so much chatter before that you couldn't pick up on the nuance. And so it gives you the ability to appreciate what you're doing more. And so, and that works with people, right? It's like, touch feels so good, and like when you're with someone you care about and you're touching each other, right, it feels because you're more present, right? And I think, like you said, I think we could all use a little bit more presence in our lives.
Well, and the taboo part of that I think is interesting because, this feels a whole lot better, but then there's that judgment. This is wrong. It only feels better because I'm smoking this weed, and that's not right. But why does that have to be wrong? Why, if I'm that much better studying, people like whatever pills that are out there to help people have ADHD, like that's viewed as okay. Who knows what the impacts are of that? Probably ain't great, but that's okay. But like if I get high and then I'm going to study, well then that's now you're a drug addict or whatever they would say. This is super interesting how they could be reframed. What do you as far as NFL safety goes, Rick? You're taking a left turn here because I talked to you for 2 hours, but Miami, where you of course played, and Tua gets concussed on a Sunday. He goes through the protocol. They're able to call it a back or an ankle injury. He gets back on the field. 4 days later, he's back out there. I'm sure the player wants to play. He's a competitor. Everybody's got their part in this. I'm not just putting it all on the doctor or all on the league, but because there's a lot going on. But then he gets knocked again, and has the most uncomfortable looking on the field, and you're going to get carted off. And it's just awful. But I don't know when, like, if somebody asks you a direct question, I guess, does the NFL care about their players? I mean, I'm going to sit there and say, of course, no. They care about making lots of money. And of course, so it's all tied together. But like when you look at that situation, what do you think the NFL in general needs to do better?
Well, I guess Mike, what I'm curious about is why is everyone talking about the NFL and not talking about Tua? I could see if Tua was like, I'm not playing. I had a concussion. I don't think it's safe. And then the team was pressuring him to play. Then we can fire all of the Dolphins, all of them, right? We fire the whole staff in that situation, But the truth is, I guarantee Tua was like, I'm playing, right? And so if I were the NFL, I would have a waiver because, a big thing in the NFL is when players are done playing, then they're going and suing the NFL and they're saying the NFL didn't take care of us, okay? But at least in my experience, the reality was, like, if they told me I wasn't playing, I'd have been pissed. I'd have done everything I could to like get on the field. That's my craziness. Yeah. And so if I was the NFL, I would say, I'd be strict and say, we don't think you should play. But if you want to play, sign this waiver. Okay. Right. Because it's the player's life. It's our livelihood. It should be our responsibility to say, I'm not okay to play or I am okay to play.
So that's super interesting because when NFL player safety became a huge thing, I'm like, look, my dad is 97 years old. He played high school football in the 40s. His parents didn't want him to play because football was dangerous. Now, back then they were wearing leather helmets. It was dangerous then. He broke his thumb. His mom freaked. And we're talking about 1942. So at the time when it was all going on, I would say, look, none of these guys, they're not unaware that it's dangerous. They love the game. They like the terror of doing it. People like to drive fast or whatever. It's
real.
Yeah. So just everybody signs the waiver. I know it's dangerous, and I'm not going to sue you. And let's play football in a normal way. But it didn't happen that way.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, that's just my opinion, and that's coming from my own experience. I think if we're gonna move in that direction, I think it makes the players take a stronger stance towards guaranteed money. I think there just has to be a real life agreement. I think this idea of trying to pretend that the NFL trying to pretend it's a certain way, like we're warriors. That's why we watch the game. Is because they're doing things that we're not willing to do in our own lives. So it gives us that release. And I think if we just own that and the players own that, I think that it'll help the game continue to live. It'll help the sustainability of the game.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but it'd be certainly a great direction if they could figure it out. Speaking of just loving watching the game, who do you like watching running the football these days, which is, I guess, getting a little bit less and less?
Nick Chubb. It's less and less, so I like the teams that actually run the ball. Because I think it's really a matter. When I played North Turner, it was my favorite offensive coordinator because he was just a genius in the way he schemed the run game. And so in the course of a football season, in the course of a football week, a coach only has certain amount of time to scheme and game plan things. And it's just more exciting to scheme and spend that time scheming and game planning the passing game. So I think there's just less mental energy and focus placed on running games. And so when you see the few teams that still scheme up the running game and put the running backs in a position where they can make plays, they're fun to watch. I like watching the Cowboys. I think they do a good job. I played for Mike McCarthy in New Orleans. I think they do a good job mixing the run game. I watched the Dolphins game, right? And the runs are just kind of like cursory, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's just not the same emphasis as it used to be.
You should watch the Bears, Ricky. We're having a little trouble with the passing game right now. So when David Montgomery gets back healthy, he'll get his opportunity. But Khalil Herbert's doing a pretty decent job right now. I got to tell you, Saquon looks back. That dude is. It was kind of because the Bears couldn't figure it out last week. Saquon's just coming downhill at him. Yeah. But I don't know if you could explain like how that can be schemed properly, where it's like the defense is so on their heels because they're so damn afraid that the running back's going to get the ball. There was a certain level of momentum that he had coming at him that they couldn't handle it.
It's an energy that is built in practice, and it usually starts with a really good runner. Okay, because a really good runner, if the lineman miss a block, okay, right, they can make a guy miss or they'll hit the hole fast enough that so the linemen relax, and then you start to take pride in running the ball. And then I think the next stage of that is you find a couple of plays that you run really well and you just run them over and over again. So when you get into a game that you run this play more than the team has to defend it, and that's when running teams get on a roll.
Yeah, makes sense. Are you still teaching yoga?
Of course, it's in my blood now.
I feel like maybe we could get a Ricky online yoga teaching situation where everybody, maybe we can have a little, I don't know, let's get some thoughts in there. Let's get a little spirituality. Let's do a 30-minute. What do you think?
I love it. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah. I was reminded, before we talked today, like that you, at least, I don't know if it's what's written in Wikipedia is correct, but it says that part of the reason why you went to Toronto was because they let you become a yoga instructor, or some part of that. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So at the time I was suspended, and my agent called me up and said, hey, Toronto Argonauts want you to come up to Canada. And I was like, no, I'm good, And I was going to move to San Francisco, and I was going to run a yoga center there for my teacher. And then I started missing football a little bit, and I was thinking if I'm away from the game too much, I might never come back. And so I reached out to my agent, and I said, maybe, and I talked to my yoga teacher, and she said, there's a center in Toronto, you can teach there. And so I said, okay. So it wasn't the main reason, but it was like the kicker. It was the one that pushed me over the edge.
Before you go, Ricky, for our Chicago clientele that are watching this and they want to support you with Heisman, I know you guys aren't quite here yet, but I think you might be. And I guess there's some merch out there we could do, period, right?
Yeah, you can go to Heisman.com and you can check out the merch. And we're in conversations right now to get into Illinois pretty quickly. So hopefully by Q2 next year, we'll have a presence.
Well, I mean, there's presence down the street. Other people have presence, so I don't see why Heisman can't have a presence here. So it would be sweet to have you in town. I'd love to support. All right, wrapping up here with one more football question. If you look back, when your head hits the pillow at night, and you actually start thinking about your NFL career, maybe you got a good strain working, and you're just intensely thinking about some great moment. What comes to mind for you?
My NFL career.
or any football period.
You know, they're like, for me, they're NFL are more like tragic moments. You know, because there were so many moments where my career was ready to take off. You know, and then like an injury or something occurred. And so I'd say the one that comes that haunts me. You know, he's about to go to sleep. Is my second year in New Orleans, and we had a really good team. We got on a streak in the middle of the season where we won 6 games straight, and the streak ended right after I broke my ankle. And it was interesting. I broke my ankle on my 1,000th yard. You know, so like these, you know, part of the thing that keeps showing up in the story is like that, you know, the numbers, the 1,000 yards or the 10,000 yards, and so I break my ankle on my 10,000th yard. And then kind of have to start over again. And then kind of the end of the happy part of that story is I end up getting traded to Miami, and I end up leading the NFL in rushing and kind of starting to take off again. But then came the drug program, and then kind of another false start. So just these like almost moments are the ones that come to mind the most.
Yeah, it's all good lessons, right? The journey is real. It's interesting that
Well, the other side of those almost moments is my life wouldn't be as interesting. Yeah.
So
and like I said, I'd rather have the good, interesting career than the great, boring one. And I was headed, those almost moments would have put me on the track for the great, boring career.
You seem pretty content, Ricky Williams. That's what I get.
Yeah, there's nothing to not be content about. Life is good.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you being on in Chicago, Heisman, and check out Ball Family Farms as well with your friend Chris Ball. You guys are partnering, and you got a collaborative strain that targets pain relief and inflammation. The Ricky Baker, which of course, Boyz In The Hood. That was a killer, man. When Ricky got killed, that just sucked. But a great movie. Trey, I feel you right now. You awesome character, great moment in time.
Yeah.
So, Ricky, let's catch up down the line, and hopefully you'll end up in Chicago here. When you do, I hope you find your way to the studio. We'll be looking for you.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, good talking with you.
Thanks.